Today, we're going to open up a really practical toolkit for your mind. For those days when you just feel stuck or maybe overwhelmed by stress or just caught in a bit of a low mood. We're going to dive into the core ideas of cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, which is honestly a super powerful way to change how you feel by changing how you think.
So let me start with a feeling that I think pretty much all of us know. Have you ever felt like you're just stuck in a mental loop? A cycle of thoughts and feelings that just keep spinning and spinning, with no exit ramp in sight? If that sounds familiar, you are definitely not alone. And this is what that loop can look like in real time. It's what's often called a vicious cycle. And this here is a classic example for panic. Just look at how it all kicks off with something so small, a physical feeling, right? Like your heart just beating a little faster. And that one thing sparks a thought. That's weird. I don't feel right. And that thought makes you feel hotter, which then leads to an even more alarming thought. Okay, I'm in real trouble now. And just like that, in moments, your thoughts, your physical feelings, your actions, they're all feeding each other, just spiraling out of control.
Okay, so our first job is to really get a handle on this trap. Let's break down what it actually means to be stuck in one of these vicious cycles. Because, trust me, once you can see the mechanics of the loop, you can start to find your way out.
So here's the real kicker. When our mood drops, our behavior usually follows suit. We stop seeing our friends, we put off stuff we used to enjoy, and all that inactivity, it just robs us of any chance for positive experiences, which only seems to prove our negative thoughts right. And then, of course, those thoughts sink our mood even lower, and we pull back even more. It becomes this totally self-sustaining downward spiral. So, how in the world do you break a cycle that just keeps feeding itself? Well, that's where we find our key. In this section, we're going to look at how CBT gives us a really practical, evidence-based way to unlock these loops for good. At its heart, cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, is all about practical change. It's not so much about digging way back into the past. It's more about focusing on the here and now. It gives you the tools to spot and then totally rewire those unhelpful links between what you're thinking, what you're feeling in your body, and what you're doing. And right here, this is the absolute central idea of CBT. It's not the situation itself, getting stuck in traffic or getting a critical email, that directly causes us to feel bad. It's our interpretation of that situation. This one idea explains why two people can go through the exact same event and have completely different feelings about it. It all just comes down to the story they're telling themselves. Let's make this super clear with an example. So in this case, the situation is simple. A woman named Linda is just going to the shops. But she starts to notice physical symptoms. Her heart's pounding, she feels hot. This triggers a thought, a cognition, I'm having a heart attack. And what's the resulting behavior? She literally runs out of the shop or just starts avoiding it altogether. You see? That's the cycle right there. A physical feeling, interpreted by a powerful thought, leading to a very specific action.
Okay, so if these three things, our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions, are all tangled up together, that actually means we can break the cycle by changing just one of them. So let's start with our first tool, which is all about behavior, changing what we do.
But here's the thing, right? When you're feeling really low, everything can feel like a huge effort. Even stuff you used to love doing. And this just leads to avoidance and inactivity, which, as we've seen, just keeps that low mood going. So how do you actually do something when you have absolutely zero motivation? Well, one of the most powerful techniques for this is called behavioral activation. It's all about breaking the cycle by doing the exact opposite of what your low mood is screaming at you to do. The main idea is simple, but it can feel totally revolutionary. You schedule your activities, and then you follow the plan, not the mood. And here's how you do it. First, you just list out different activities. Routine stuff, fun stuff, necessary stuff. Then you rank them, from easiest to hardest. Now, the trick is to start small. You only schedule the easiest ones into your week. Then comes the most important part. You just do them. You do them even if you don't feel like it. Afterwards, you look back and notice the impact. You're building positive momentum, one tiny planned action at a time. So, we've got a tool for the behavior part of the cycle. But what about the cognitive part, the thoughts? Let's turn to our second tool, which is all about challenging the thoughts that are driving this cycle in the first place.
You see, when we're feeling low or anxious, our minds can spit out what CBT calls hot thoughts, or negative automatic thoughts. These are thoughts that just pop into our heads and feel 100% true in that moment, like, I'm a failure. They trigger really strong emotions, and most of the time, they go completely unchecked.
The tool for dealing with these hot thoughts is called cognitive restructuring. The whole idea is to stop just accepting these thoughts as facts. Instead, you're going to treat them like a hypothesis in a science experiment.
You basically become a detective, stepping back to look for the cold, hard, factual evidence, both for and against that thought.
Let's walk through it. Imagine the hot thought is, I am no good. Maybe after not getting a job. Okay, on the evidence for side of the scale, we've got one fact. I did not get the job last week. Fair enough. But now, let's look at the evidence against it. They gave you positive feedback. You have gotten jobs you wanted in the past. You were skilled enough to get an interview in the first place. All of a sudden, that scale looks very, very different, doesn't it? The problem is our brains love to fixate on that one negative piece of evidence and just ignore everything else.
And this is so important. The goal here is not to force yourself to believe some unrealistic, super positive mantra like, I'm the best at everything. Our minds are smart. They know that's not true. The real aim is to find a balanced thought, one that takes in all the evidence, the good and the bad, to land on a perspective that's actually realistic and a whole lot less painful.
So, after weighing all the evidence, a balanced thought might sound something like this. I'm disappointed I didn't get this one job, but I have a good track record of getting jobs I've applied for in the past. You see how that works? It doesn't pretend the negative thing didn't happen, but it puts it in a much broader, more accurate context. It's a thought that is both believable and, honestly, much less devastating.
Okay, so we have these two really powerful tools, one for our actions and one for our thoughts. In our final section, we're going to see how to put them together to build your own personal well-being blueprint.
Because this is the crucial point. These aren't just one-off tricks or quick fixes. They're skills, and by practicing them, you're basically building a personal instruction manual for your own mind, a blueprint you can always refer back to manage your well-being and stay on track for the long run.
So let's do a quick recap of your new toolkit. Number 1, get good at spotting your own vicious cycles. Number 2, use behavioral activation to take action. Remember, follow your plan, not your mood. Number 3, use cognitive restructuring to challenge your thoughts. Be the detective and find a balanced perspective. And finally, put all these skills together to create your own ongoing plan for well-being.
Because in the end, this isn't just about theory. It's all about taking action. So I'll just leave you with one question to take into your week. What is one small, doable step you could schedule right now to invest in your own well-being? Thanks for joining us for this explainer.